Hi guys, we're going to do life skill advice. Now, this is advice I give to everyone who is starting to live on their own, who don't know how to do chores. Well, first of all, what chores would you want to do? Are you good at doing the floors? Are you good at vacuuming? Are you good at cleaning? Are you good at making your bed, doing the laundry? If you're really stuck, for some people, it'd be good to hire a cleaner if you need to, but not every day. If you can't afford a cleaner, I recognize you do your own if you don't want one. I do my own chores because I don't want to pay a cleaner because that's a lot of money and I'm saving money. Also, they pay a lot. So think about it. How often do you clean? Do you clean 20 hours a day, 30 hours a day? Think about it. How many hours a day do you want to do cleaning? Do you want to do 20 hours a day of cleaning? Cleaning is a chore. It's not a game, it's a chore. That if you live on your own, you have to do the chores. Either it's make your bed, clean your house, vacuum top to bottom, even under the carpets. If you have to move furniture to go under the carpets, get someone to help you. If you have to sweep the deck and sweep the deck, you have to keep your place presentable and nice. Because if you don't clean your place, you could have people complain, and your neighbors might complain because they don't like seeing a midden. So please respect your neighbor in that line. Another thing, you're living close to your neighbors, some of you are. And if you have neighbors, what etiquette is the right thing to do your neighbor? Respect your neighbor. You don't have to be their friend. You don't have to invite them over. You don't have to be too friendly. Just don't be too pushy, too. Don't force items on your neighbor. They may not want gifts because they're saving money for whatever. I don't think that would be appropriate. Farting in the presence of your neighbor. No, that is not appropriate. It is inappropriate and it could get you into trouble. People don't want to hear that on a walk. It's not every day you hear that. So if you have a neighbor, please respect your neighbor by not letting off air in their presence. It's not appropriate, nor does your neighbor want to hear it. It kind of upsets your neighbor. Please respect your neighbor in that mind. I don't tell people what to do, I just give advice. Another respectful thing is let your kids respect the neighbors too. Don't just think it's all about the neighbor. Also, if you have kids, your kids have to respect the neighbors too. It's not just about adults doing it. Children have to respect their neighbor. I know it's tough because you live very close and it's hard when you're bored and you run around. Please respect your neighbor, even as a kid. When I was little, I had to respect my neighbor. I didn't have to look at my neighbor. I didn't have to be too friendly with them, but I had to respect them because it was part of etiquette and we live amongst each other. And if you're living in that proximity in a community, it's hard to avoid your neighbor. If you could, just tell people not to pet your dog if you don't want people touching your dog. It's not illegal to. Walk away, avoid people if they're being too much, and don't argue because that will get you into trouble. Anything you say could get a neighbor to write down inappropriate things about you, so you don't want that. So if you want to be in good terms with a neighbor, please be respectful. I'll ask. Neighbors don't have to know you, they don't have to be your friend. They're not here on the planet to suit you. Here's the thing. If you have children, please be respectful to your neighbor. Don't let your children on their property if they don't want the children on the property. And if you think people are trespassing in your backyard, put in a fence, put hedges up, put a barrier between you and the neighbor, and a fence would be better. It would also make you more at ease about the neighbor. Please don't fight with them over that. It's not worth it. But if you feel people are gonna take shortcuts on your backyard, which could happen, it could happen to anyone, you can put up a fence or put a private property sign on your backyard, or you can even put hedges up to prevent the neighbor's kids going in your property, and a fence. A fence would be better because you can lock the fence so people can't break in your house. Also, you're safe doing that. I recommend it. Or you can put a private property sign on your house to keep people off your backyard from trespassing. But you're not going to get every person agree with that. So you have to talk to your neighbor before you put up a fence. But I think a fence is a great idea to keep neighbors out your backyard. Because last thing you want is a neighbor peeking in your window at your very embarrassing times. Or if you're sleeping and you see a neighbor at the window, kindly ask them to leave. Don't argue. Don't approach them if you feel they're a danger. Just stay inside and call the police if you feel unsafe and they're unapproachable. Or just stay indoors. You're safe indoors. Just lock the doors. If you have a dog, you're probably safe, but you know, there's nothing worse than someone peeking in your window. But don't approach people who are doing that. Get the police to deal with it. Don't go and fight people like that because you don't know if they're well or they have a problem. But really, you just have to get the police to deal with that or ask them to leave. If they don't, call the police. Don't fight them. Sometimes you'll be in a scenario that you may not like, and it can happen to anyone. How to deal with a home invasion. It can happen to any neighborhood, even the safest neighborhood. Don't think it won't happen to you. It could. What happens one night you wake up and you feel the neighborhood is fine? You look out the window, you see your average neighbors and the average kids, and they go inside and it's nighttime and all the lights are off, everyone's in bed, it's quiet, and then one night you get a knock on the door. Do you open it? Or do you look through the peephole? Sometimes you should do that. Or ask who is it. If they don't answer, call police. If you feel you're in danger in any way, call police. Please. Don't tackle them. Don't argue with people who are at your door at 1 in the morning. They're not there for a social call. If you wake up and all the phone lines are cut, you could have a home invasion. How to handle it? Go in a panic room. Train your dog to go in an emergency room for that, or go to the nearest neighbor, or even call 911. For that reason, you may have to wait a while for police to arrive. So don't let the intruders see you. Try to crawl somewhere they can't see you. Run through the back where they can't see you before they enter the basement, and run to your nearest neighbor, whoever is near you. Ask them to use the phone so you can call police. You may not have time. Time could be precious at that moment. If you have kids, take your kids with you. Don't leave them. Because people like that, you don't know. I mean, most scenarios, you'll survive a home invasion, but other scenarios, you may not. So if you're going to be shot and you're injured or something, call 911 and ask for an ambulance. And go to the nearest neighbor and ask them to help you. They could probably call an ambulance for you if you're bleeding or shot. Please, folks, if you're in that situation, don't panic. The worst you can do is panic. Panicking will make the situation worse. If you want to survive the night, find a door they won't see you and just go in that room. They won't see you and try not to make a noise. If they hear you, crawl very quietly so they don't see you before they enter the basement to the nearest neighbor and call for help. Scream if you have to. Make noise so people can hear you. Some people may not, or they may be walking a dog or busy with their kid, but that doesn't mean they can't hear you, because they can.